them all, but we usually have some pretty good luck. And if you're looking to take some pictures today, make sure your cameras are out. We can't stop for all of the animals, but we do try for most of them. Let's start our adventure here in the Ituri Forest. The animals here are known for blending in with their surroundings. Helps them keep away from their predators, or keep your eyes peeled. They might be blending in with the bushes or the trees. The first animal I'm going to see is up on the right. It's an okapi. The okapi has those black and white striped legs. They kind of look like they resemble a zebra, although they're not related at all. They're actually related to the giraffe. They have the same shaped skull, and they both have prehensile tongues, which means that they are very long and can grab things like our thumbs can. The okapi is also relatively new to our knowledge. They weren't discovered in the wild until about 1901, so just a little over 100 years ago. It's pretty cool that we get to see one here. And then up on top of this hill over here, we'll be on the right. It's a saddle-billed stork. It's that black and white bird. It stands about 5 feet tall and has a wingspan of about 9 feet. We can tell the males and the females apart based on their eye color. The males have brown eyes and the females have yellow eyes. And on top of the hill there, straight ahead, it's going to be on the left, kind of tough to see up there, is a black rhino. We might get a better look on the other side. The black rhino is the smaller species of rhino that we have here on the reserve. They weigh about 3,000 pounds, and unfortunately there's only about 5,000 of them left in the world. They are unfortunately hunted for the horns that are on top of their head, although those horns are only made of keratin, which is what our fingernails and hair are made out of. And there are some bongos way up on the right there resting in the bushes. The bongos are known as the ghosts of the forest. They're very good at hiding, very rarely seen. Both the males and the females have those horns on top of their head. And they face backwards. That way when they're trying to escape from a predator running through those bushes and the brush, they don't get tangled and stuck. And then there is a better look at that black rhino on the left. The black rhinos are solitary. They're usually found by themselves like that. And then on the left here are some greater kudus. They're the taller species of antelope here in the forest. They stand about 55 inches tall. And we know those ones are all females because they don't have any horns on top of their heads. All right, now as we exit the forest, we're going to head on down to the Sapi River. The Sapi River is, of course, home to some of the aquatic animals that we have here on the reserve. They do like to spend the really hot days like today in the water. So if you don't see any on land or even sticking their heads out of the water, just look real down deep. They might be down there just to keep it cool. Right now on the left in the water are some hippos. They're kind of way in there. You can only see really the backs of them. The hippos can hold their breath for up to 8 minutes, which allows them to sink to the bottom of the river, and they'll run along the bottom. And they do this instead of swimming. It is a lot easier for them. Each one weighs about 5,500 pounds. And a group of them together is called a float. Hippos do spend most of their day in the water. They don't tend to come out until it's nighttime and it's cooled down. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them here. Just get a nice good look. And at night is when they do all of their eating. They can eat hundreds of pounds of grass and leaves each night. And then when the sun comes back up and it gets too warm, they go back into the water for the day. And then those grayish-white birds there are the pink-backed pelicans. They get their name because during mating season they turn a pinkish color. A group of them is called a pod, and pods of pink-backed pelicans are usually made up of about 20 to 500 pairs. They are very social birds, so they do like to hang out in big groups like that. And when the chicks are hatched, it's both the males and the females that take care of the baby. There is another hippo there running along the bottom. And now we're coming up on the Nile crocodile. The Nile crocodiles are ectothermic, which means they cannot create their own heat. So what they do is they lay in the sun to warm up. And then if they get too hot, they can either go into the tree. It kind of looks like it's upside down, like its roots are on top. It does look that way 9 months out of the year, because it doesn't grow any leaves. It's very good at conserving its water. That way animals in the savanna have an extra source if they get thirsty, which is why the tree is also known as the tree of life. These animals can drink the water right out of them. And it does mark our entry here into the savanna. The savanna is home to many of the popular animals we know, such as zebras and giraffes and many different antelope species. So let's see what we can find. We're seeing a whole bunch of animals out here. We'll probably get a better look as we go around. So the first ones I'll point out here are the Maasai giraffes. We know they're the Maasai giraffes because of their jagged irregular pattern on their coat. A group of them is called a tower, which makes sense because when they're fully grown, they can stand about 20 feet tall and they tower over the other animals on the savanna. When they're born, they're already 6 feet tall, and the mother giraffe gives birth to them standing up. So the first thing those baby giraffes experience when they're born is a drop to the ground, but within an hour, they're already walking and running on their own, which allows them to escape from their predators when they're just born. On the left here are some African painted dogs. Now I think they look super cute and cuddly, but they're actually the #1 predator on the savanna. They have such a high success rate because they are family-oriented animals and they do everything together, including hunting. And when they wake up in the morning, they won't start their day until they've all said hello to each other. And each pack of African painted dogs is made up of about 25, and it's led by both an alpha male and an alpha female who become the breeding pair of the group. Now in the back there, laying down those brown antelope are the sable antelopes. They're the emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve here. They're pretty impressive animals. If a predator's coming for them, they won't run away. They'll actually stand their grounds and fight. They're very strong and they have those big horns on top of their head that face backwards, and they're very sharp, which deters predators from jumping on their backs. And here are some Hartman Mountain zebras. There's a few more over that way. I think we'll get a better look as we go a little further. And those gray animals there are the wildebeest. In the wild, the wildebeest travel in packs of about 1.5 million. And when they go to sleep at night, they all sleep in rows, and the rows will face different directions. That way they can easily warn each other if a predator is coming to try to escape, and then when they're all running the same way, they kind of form like a stampede, which deters the predators and keeps them away. Now here's some more of those Hartman Mountain zebras. We'll get a nice good look. Now we can tell the color of a zebra based on the color of its nose. So these ones we know are black with white stripes because they do have black noses. A group of them together is called a dazzle. And each zebra has unique stripes and they can tell each other apart by them. Now those small antelope on the right there with the white bellies and the tan backs, those are the springboks. They get their name because they can spring about 6 to 8 feet in the air while standing still and about 13 feet forward. So it only takes them about 2 jumps to jump the entire length of this truck. They're also one of the fastest animals on the savanna. They can travel at speeds of about 50 miles an hour, which gives them a bit of an advantage to try to escape from their predators. And we're coming up here on some more giraffes. And then out in the distance on the right there are the Ankole cattle. We might get a better look as we go a little further on our safari, but I'd like to point them out just in case we don't. They have those big horns on top of their head, which look like they're pretty heavy, but they're actually pretty light. The inside is like a honeycomb structure of blood vessels, and it's what regulates their body temperatures. And the Ankole cattle are the only domesticated animal that we have here on the reserve. In Africa, they're used as a form of currency. So the more Ankole cattle you have, the wealthier you are. And then there's some other antelopes here hanging out with the giraffes. Those are the Patterson elands. They are the largest species of antelope. The full-grown males can weigh about 2,000 pounds. They're still able to jump about 6 feet in the air, which is pretty impressive for animals their size. Now these broken down trees here mean we're entering elephant country. And I can see an African elephant elephant looks to be by itself, I would guess that it is a male. The male African elephants are usually found by themselves. Once they reach a mature age, they do leave their herds and they go off on their own in the wild. Although sometimes they do find other male elephants and they form bachelor herds together. Now both the male and the female African elephants, they have those ivory tusks. And unfortunately, they are hunted for them. They're also hunted because they tend to trample farmers' crops in Africa, and the farmers get pretty upset about that. So a team here at Disney wanted to figure out what they could do to not only help the elephants, but the farmers as well. And what they found through research was that elephants don't like the sound of bees, and they'll actually run away if they hear them. So what they did was they put fences all around these crops. And the fences had beehives all throughout them. And this was pretty successful in keeping the elephants away from the crops, which kept them nice and safe. It kept the crops safe for the farmers and also gave the farmers some honey that they could sell from the beehives. So it's a win-win for all the parties involved, and it's pretty cool that a team here at Disney was able to figure that out to help conserve these elephant populations. And you probably noticed that that elephant was flapping its ears. Elephants do this to cool themselves down. Their ears are full of large blood vessels. So when they flap the air around like that around their ears, it cools their entire bodies down. It's like a ventilation system for them. And then this red clay here has some elephant tusk marks in it. They do like to dig it out and eat it. There's a whole bunch of the African elephants on the left there. And the red clay that they eat does have a lot of minerals and nutrients in it, so it's kind of like taking a vitamin for them to keep them nice and healthy. Elephants also have very sensitive skin, and they can easily get sunburned, so what we see them doing sometimes is they spray dirt and sand on their backs, and this acts as a natural sunscreen for them and protects them from that hot savanna sun. Elephant country, we do find a lot of the baobab trees like the one we saw earlier. The elephants love the baobab trees. They can easily just pierce them open with their tusks and drink the water right out. And there are those Ankole cattle that I was mentioning earlier. They're on the right. Maybe a little better on this side. Yeah, there they are. And then farmers in Africa with the Ankole cattle, what they'll do is they'll let them roam free during the day, but then at night they'll herd them all back into structures that they call bomas. And that keeps them safe in the night from predators. And now we're coming up on the greater flamingos. If you look real closely, you'll see some fluffy gray ones. They're getting pretty big. They were hatched about a month ago. They're still pretty small. They get bigger every single day. And they are born gray like that. They don't start to turn pink until about a year of their life after they've had enough of their diet of brine shrimp, which is what turns them pink. And the greater flamingo here, they are the largest species of flamingo. They're actually the lightest in color as well. That's because that pink pigment from the shrimp has a lot more body area that it has to take up. So they tend to be a very pale pink compared to smaller species of flamingos. And the cool thing about flamingo chicks before they're born, when they're still in their eggs, they can communicate through them. And you can actually hear them if you listen. That way, when they're hatched, they know the voice of their mothers, and the mothers know the voices of their babies. So they don't all get mixed up and confused. But they all do look pretty similar when they're born.
Cướp cờ đâu mà thúi luôn. Há cướp thúi, ẻm hay thúi.
is the larger species of rhino that we have here on the reserve. They weigh about 4,000 to 5,000 pounds. And you might have noticed that the rhino was not actually white. They do get their name from a mistranslation of the Afrikaans language. They were called the white rhino, which translates to wide, because those rhinos have a wide mouth compared to the rhino that we saw in the forest earlier that has kind of a pointy mouth to get into small areas and trees and stuff. The animals that live on the rhinos that live on the savanna need those wider mouths to graze along the ground. And there's a few more up on the right laying down. A group of them together is called a crash, which makes sense because they can charge at speeds of about 40 miles an hour and just crash right into things. On the left, way in the back, kind of hard to see, laying down, are some cheetahs. They're kind of hard to see. I can see two of them back there in
No.
the trees.
Đâu, không thấy. Anh không thấy.
Cheetahs are one of the only big cats that do their hunting during the day.
Không chia ra đâu.
They can run really fast at speeds of about 60 to 70 miles an hour, but they can't maintain those speeds for long, and they're not the strongest of the big cats. So their success rate for hunting is not very high, which is why they like to hunt during the day while the other big cats are asleep. Because oftentimes if they hunt at the same time, the bigger cats can fight them off and take their prey. So the cheetahs will hunt when the rest of them are sleeping. Cheetahs are also the only big cat that has non-retractable claws, which means 24/7 their claws are out and ready to be used. And then these big rock structures that we're passing through, they're called kopjes, and they're found in the savanna. And the big cats like to find them and rest on top of them during the day. And then at night when they're ready to go hunting, it gives them a vantage point over their prey. That way they can easily see them being so high up. Alright, on the left here are some warthog burrows in the ground there. The warthogs like to dig those out with their tusks. And then when they're ready to go to sleep at night, they back themselves in with their tusks facing out. And it helps to ward off predators in the middle of the night so that they can sleep safe and sound.
Nãy em thấy con heo rừng rồi đó không?
Now those brown antelopes there on the right laying down, we kind of got a good look. Oh, there's one right there as well. Those are the bontebaks. They're related to the wildebeest, and they have a pretty impressive story. At one point, there was only about 17 of them left in this one small village, and the people that lived there realized that their populations were dwindling, and they wanted to help them so that their populations would continue. There's also a warthog on the left there, kind of in the rocks. Just wanted to point that out. I didn't really see it before. So the villagers wanted to help the bontebaks, and they were successful in doing so. And now there are thousands of those bontebaks in the world, a lot of them on reserves like this one. But it's great to hear success stories like that of animals that we thought the populations would disappear. And it's great that that one small group of people was able to do something so big for this